So the final album we've got here is Stoned Weekend by Drug Couple. This was released on the 18th of February 2022 on PaperCup Music. It's 10 tracks long and roughly 46 minutes. So Stoned Weekend is a debut album from New York City's alt-psyche country duo Miles and Becca Robinson, aka Drug Couple. I think alt-psyche country I can't even pronounce the word genre anymore. As a genre seems fairly fitting. Genre. Seems fairly fitting, as there's a mixture of like alt rock and psychedelic rock and bits of country kind of all over this album. The title track on this, Stoned Weekend, just kind of immediately impressed me. I think like sort of dense layers of guitars and these kind of psychedelic like synth lines, and like I've described the overall sound as like Lynyrd Skynyrd or Buffalo Springfield like after a bong hit. Like it feels like slow, like it feels like Sweet Home Alabama like in slow motion, which is actually far better than that sounds. Like I don't know how you describe it.
Yeah. I mean, it feels very country, but there's psychedelic elements in there as well. I mean, there's quite a few tracks on here that reminded me a bit of like Jefferson Airplane, also Chairlift. Do you remember Chairlift?
Yeah, I remember Chairlift.
Yeah, but particularly with that kind of male and female kind of vocal juxtaposition, maybe more of a kind of less direct and avant-garde Chairlift, because they're a bit out there, I suppose, at times. Yeah. Also reminded me of some of the tracks on the first Puma Rosa album as well, particularly towards the end of the album. There's a song called Wild Child, like that. I think there's kind of like the odd hint and kind of frill of like a clarinet or a kind of saxophone in there somewhere in the background. So yeah, that kind of put me in mind of Puma Rosa. I think there's a lot of depth and texture to all of these songs.
Yeah.
Lemon Trees, which was track number 3, that really stood out for me. I think that was one of the singles released from the album. I really like that one. Little Do I Know, again, I think I can't quite remember what track number that is, but I think for me that was maybe the kind of first track that I kind of felt was kind of on the verge of becoming an all-out kind of psychedelic track.
Mm-hmm.
But it does kind of hold back from doing that. And I thought it was quite interesting because that you've got that like so Little Do I Know, like I said, that has this kind of psychedelic kind of tinge to it, and then it just kind of plunges straight into this kind of perfectly curated slice of kind of indie folk in the form of track number 6, which is Ben and Bongo, which I loved. I thought that was a great track, like really good.
Yeah, that's got the most like country kind of slide guitar parts in it. And again, I didn't hate the slide guitar on Ben and Bongo.
I think you're a closet slide guitar fan, man.
It's funny because when I was listening to this album, I had it like on like a Bluetooth speaker and I was playing it out loud in the living room. And Kat came through. It's like, "What are you doing listening to country?" It's not country, but I mean there is a lot of country in this. It's not country. I hate country, but yeah, there is quite a lot of country on this and slide guitar but I don't know what it is. It just seemed
there's something about it that. It's somehow removed from the country.
Yeah, it's just the way the slide guitar parts are like integrated into the rest of the song. Like it works like naturally with the drums and the sort of soothing vocals as well. I like the lyrics on Ben and Bongo. It's just Bongo and me, we can get high down the street. It's just quite funny. That
wee kind of vocal refrain of Bongo and me is really fucking hooky as well. Like, I was singing that over and over again.
Yeah, there's lots of bits like that on this album as well. Like on Lemon Trees, I haven't written the lyrics down, but there's so I think for the Miles, for the most part, is like the lead vocalist and sort of Becca comes in on harmonies and things. But on Lemon Trees, it starts out with Becca, and then Miles kind of comes in for a few lines of it. So when he comes in, the hook on that is just like, the hairs on your arms stand up. That's that kind of hook. So that song One of the best songs on the album is Lemon Trees. And yeah, Ben and Bongo, really strong song. Linda's Trip jumped out of me as well. And part of that was just because of the name of it. Because not long before I heard this, I'd been watching American Crime Story Impeachment, which is all about the impeachment of Bill Clinton and the sort of Monica Lewinsky scandal. And Linda Tripp is like a big character in that. She'd befriended Monica Lewinsky and earned her trust and was told, Monica told her all about what was happening with the president, and she'd recorded their conversations and to eventually write a book about it. And that was how the whole story would come to break. Now, the song isn't about that. As far as I can tell, the song is about another kind of like fraught friendship, but like between two teenage vampires is the story I could sort of garner from some interviews I'd read. And there is talk about like bloodlust and stuff on in the lyrics. You can definitely hear that. But just sort of, it was the name initially that jumped out at me, but it's a cool song. It's got like quite sort of fuzzy, grungy even guitars on it, and there's a little sort of mandolin kind of riff in there as well.
I didn't really take that big a dive into the lyrical content.
I didn't either, to be completely honest.
Because I do feel as if this album kind of washes over you in a way.
Definitely, yeah. It's like a sort of warm, cozy blanket, I suppose.
Yeah,
But it does sort of feel like that. You mentioned Wild Child before, which is, it's got a sort of tribal drum beat to it, and it's got that sort of Americana, sort of noirish quality to it that I was talking earlier about Princess Chelsea. Like, totally different, but there is that sort of kind of broody, sort of noir aspect. And I think that song is about a werewolf. Like, or maybe the werewolf is an analogy for something, but it's like she howls at the moon, like "Au" is one of the lyrics. So, but it's probably an analogy for something rather than just being directly she's a werewolf. But you never know. Anyway, it's a good track. It's a good track, and I like the way that the album closes basically with the same song. Like Still Stoned is basically practically the same song as Stoned Weekend. It uses a lot of the same hooks and lyrics. Stoned Weekend, I hope this weekend never ends. They're cool. Well, nice lyrics. So yeah, I think there's lots of bits on here that reminded me of like grunge bands. Like,
I think that's fair to say, because I think track number 8 in particular, Our December, I mean, that opens with a fairly generous dollop of kind of fuzz and reverb. There's a bit of kind of grunt in the guitar riffs there.
Yeah, I think they've mentioned like Dinosaur Jr. as like an influence. Right, okay. I think there's bits like, there's probably some Neil Young on here. I think Miles's vocals remind me on occasion a little bit of Eddie Vedder in this sort of mumbly, sort of almost, you sometimes can't really hear what he's saying because he's mumbling. That kind of element of Eddie Vedder's singing style. And I hear like little vocal melodies that remind me of like Nirvana, like as well on occasion. I mean, it's not, the songs don't sound like Nirvana, but there's the odd sort of little vocal hook that just reminds me of a sort of Kurt Cobain intonation sort of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which is, it's these little bits here and there that help pull me in as well. But yeah, a good album to sort of put on and relax to, because like you say, it just kind of washes over and feels like a sort of a fuzzy, warm blanket.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a nice summery kind of feel to it as well, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
just chilling out and kicking back. What did you give it though?
I've given it an 8 out of 10 because I've listened to it quite a few times now, and I think maybe initially I might have given it a lower score, but I think the more I've listened to it, the more I've just kind of really come to enjoy it.
Yeah, I did wonder, because I've given it a 7, and I did wonder if that's because I haven't spent enough time with it. Because my thinking was that although it's a good album and I enjoyed it, I was like, I don't know, like, if it's an album that'll have me coming back to it, if that makes sense.
Yes, I mean, it makes sense. I suppose it depends what mood you're in, I suppose.
Yeah,
But I certainly have come back to it. I mean, partly just because we're reviewing it, but partly because I like it. So, and the more I've come back to it, the more I've come to like it as well. So I think
enjoyed. Yeah.
That's why I've given it an 8.
I think that I think that's fair to say. You know, maybe I do need to spend a bit more time with it because, as I said, there is a lot going on in a lot of the tracks. You know, maybe not as much so as, you know, like a Pup or whatever. But yeah, I imagine that if I was to go back and listen to it in a bit more detail, I'd probably take a bit more away from it. But it's a lovely laid back album. It's nice to listen to when you're just kind of up and about and chilling out.
Yeah, it sounds amazing as well. Like, just the production of it all, the performances of the vocals, all the instrumentals and everything. It just sounds amazing. So really good album. So that was Stoned Weekend by Drug Couple.
Spend my whole life stoned. Don't mind when the distance hits our minds. Or show me what sister. Your sister said I Bongo and me. I hope this weekend never ends. Stone weekend. It's not finished. It's finished.